Hey guys, Stebgan here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. I'm back. I'm back after what was a really tough exam period, but I'm gonna try and upload regularly. We don't really know when the next one is coming. However, I will be gone for the entirety of April and May. So I'm gonna try and compensate with a few of these videos. If not, hey, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Today, I'm gonna be reviewing the most controversial list in FIFA's history, the FIFA 100. Now, before we get things started, I want to clear up a few things. It's not a list of 100 players. It's not a list of the greatest 100 players living who are either playing right now or were playing before. It is a list to commemorate FIFA's 100-year anniversary made by Pele, which is actually a list of 125 players. And a crucial thing is that it is living players only. So no Lev Yashin is on this list because this is around 2004. So Lev Yashin will not be considered. I'm going to be just reviewing this and I'm going to be picking out a few players who I think do not deserve their place. And in the end, I'm going to be detailing a few players who I think should have been on the list but are not. Now, before we get things started, another thing I want to address is I'm not going to include either Marco van Basten or Uwe Seeler in the players who should have been recognized. They chose not to be a part of the list, and I guess we have to respect them not wanting to be a part. But anyway, let's get straight in. Now, I'm gonna start with some of the very controversial inclusions into the list. Now, bearing in mind that it's only living players, we need to start with the youngest member on the entire list in Javier Saviola. Now, he was not a bad player, he was in fact a very good player. However, he was in the end one of the more controversial signings in both Barcelona and Real Madrid's history at the end of his times at both clubs. At this point, he's only 24, so I don't really understand what warrants him to be on a list like this. And at this point as well, he was out the door at Barcelona. He was getting two loan moves away to Monaco and Sevilla at places where he honestly didn't want to be. Frank Rijkaard did not want to play him, so he was basically being pushed out of the club at this point. So I really don't understand what warranted his place on the list. We next have Frankie van der Elst. Now, here's the thing about this person, because I really don't know a lot about 70s and 80s football. And he was a Belgian defender slash defensive midfielder. And I honestly see nothing special about him. He didn't have an insane tackling rate. He didn't have any big trophies to his name. He didn't even make a single European team of the season, which I think is, at least is the minimum bar. You need to have made it the team of the season of your national tournaments at least once to warrant a place on the list. And I didn't think he deserves it considering he's never been in one. And next up we have Renard Desailly. Okay, I get it. I get why Renard Desailly is on this list, but I don't know if I agree with it. So, obviously, this is only living players, and Lev Yashin died in the 90s. Obviously, one of the best goalkeepers of all time, probably the greatest goalkeeper of all time, only person to win the Ballon d'Or from goal. And Renard Desailly is literally considered the second best in his country. So I guess they thought that this was a good compromise of not putting him on here. He's second behind Yashin. He basically did nothing, spent his whole time at Spartak Moscow, where he basically is doing what they are doing now, and that's b-boying between the European competitions and the top half of the Russian league. And he's literally mocked on a daily, being called overrated by all the fans. And next up is going to be a bit of a controversial one, but I'm going to be talking about the inclusion of women on the list. Personally, I love it. I really like that people like Mia Hamm have been considered for this list, especially in 2004 when women's football was just about to start gaining buzz. But that's the thing. It feels forced. Like, obviously the main controversy around the list was that Pele was maybe getting too influenced by FIFA, and I think this kind of shows it. Because are you really trying to tell me Pele genuinely thinks someone like Mia Hamm, he's genuinely watching women's football to include people on this list? Because honestly, women's football is, it's like NXT is to wrestling. Like, it is a place where all the devoted fans go and watch and really enjoy it, but none of the casuals actually recognize it, which is a really sad thing because it's genuinely good. But yeah, you do really expect me to believe Pele watches constant Mia Hamm matches to try and prepare for a list like this? Because it really feels so forced when it really shouldn't be. And next up, I think, is the last one, and possibly the most controversial one of them all, and that's how has El Hadji Diouf made this list? Like, this is 2004. This is 2 years after Jamie Carragher called him the worst number 9 in the history of the Premier League, and he's made a list of the 125 greatest footballers of all time above some of the names we're gonna get to. Jesus Christ. He's literally memed for being one of the worst players in the history of the Premier League, for being one of the worst signings in Liverpool's history. And obviously, he's pissed off so many people. Like, he's got like this viral reaction whenever someone realizes he's on a team sheet. And to know that he has made this list and Pape Bouba Diop hasn't, who's genuinely possibly the greatest Senegalese player of all time, it's kind of shocking. He gets rinsed on a daily by people, and it's kind of funny how he has made a list like this. But now we're gonna go on to the major omissions in this list, and I'm gonna try and elaborate a bit on why they should be involved and maybe who they should be replacing. But that basically will move into a point that I'll get into in the next clip. Let's look at the major omissions in this list. I'm going to start with the major one that was highly publicized by the media themselves, and that was Gerson, one of Brazil's greatest centre-mids of all time. He didn't make the list, and obviously he was very annoyed about it. He apparently had this huge sort of meltdown at a bar when he found out, and when they were announcing the list, he found out he wasn't on it. And yeah, he's much more deserving than some of the other people who are on this list. Other than that, people I can think of, Jose Chilavert, one of the greatest players of all time, one of the greatest Bolivian players of all time as well. We have Ian Rush somehow not making this list. From all of the Welsh people, he's probably the greatest Welsh player of all time, maybe just behind Ryan Giggs. That's a very debatable point. Ian Wright did not make this list. At this point, he was Arsenal's top goal scorer of all time. And if Arsenal being one of the biggest clubs in the world at that time, I think it's very stupid not to include Ian Wright. Tony Yeboah is a very debatable choice, but I think he deserves it. If El Hadji Diouf gets on this list, Tony Yeboah certainly deserves it. Alberto Spencer, Ecuador's greatest player of all time, and of course the leading goal scorer on the Copa Libertadores. That's the major point, that he should have been involved in this list. I'm still surprised that Renard Desailly made this list, and Peter Shilton did not. Gordon Banks made this list. Peter Shilton should have made it. I'd maybe throw in a point of Peter Bonetti as well, just because he's such a Chelsea legend. However, maybe not. He didn't even start a lot of games for England because he was in that sort of weird era where they were better keepers than him. Robert Prosinecki not making this list, another big name left out. One of Croatia's greatest players of all time, not on this list. Giancarlo Antonioni is another one, Italian centre mid. At this point, there's no Pirlo or anyone, so really he is in that top 5 discussion for greatest Italian centre mids at this point. So he should have been involved. And I think the biggest one of them all is Dejan Savicevic. I mean, everyone calls this boy the best player of the 80s and 90s. He's regarded as one of the greatest, most underrated central attacking mids of all time. And looking at this guy's stats and the way he used to play and his vision, it's actually second to none. And he should have been involved on this list because he is that kind of Pele player, to be honest. He should have made the list. But now we go to the outro. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. If you are new to the channel, uploads will be coming back regularly, and I'll try and make them as regular as possible. But anyway, until the next episode, peace.